Welcome to the Live Your Vision podcast. In episode 60, Jeremy shares his sales advice from selling group ticket packages for the NBA Timberwolves, how he became interested in business development, and what it's like traveling back to his birth country, Africa. Hope you enjoy the show. Jeremy, to kick things off, how have you been doing mentally the past week?
Mentally, been good. It's springtime, so that's always a nice little mental lift. You kind of see the light at the other side of the tunnel with COVID, and even just getting through the winter. You know, it's kind of nice just to get through there, and so I think mentally good. A lot of stuff to look forward to, and so yeah, man, it's been good. What about you?
Yeah, dude. I mean, the last week has been good. Got to hang out with family past weekend, so that's always good. For pretty busy week this week, honestly. Have a shoot for Ever North this Thursday, and then actually leaving to California on Friday with my brother.
Yeah.
To like Wednesday, so that'll be fun.
It's a lot.
My brother, he hasn't been out to California yet, so that'll be cool. And I mean, I don't know what California is like right now, so it'll be interesting, but it'll still be super fun.
Yeah. From all reports, if you listen to the Joe Rogan podcast, you're gonna be scared to go there for sure. So yeah. I don't know. I don't know what it's like. I don't really have a whole lot of friends on the ground there, but it doesn't sound like it's been too good. So good luck.
I know, it sounds like everyone's just like leaving California.
Yeah.
So and going to like Texas and stuff. So
yeah.
That's interesting. But you recently started at ACTIV doing business development. But before that, you were also doing business development for the Backpocket podcast and then also worked for the Timberwolves, which is really cool. Like, what started you to get interested into business development?
Yeah, I guess it's... I feel like business development is like a fancy word, I guess. So I never really looked at it as like, oh, I want to do business development, right? It's more so I'm just interested in, I feel like I'm just interested in a lot of different things. So a lot of the stuff that I do just kind of comes out of my own personal interests. So like, sports, been interested in sports basically my whole life. So Timberwolves fits that. Podcast, love podcasts and listening to podcasts and loved the Backpocket podcast and everything that those guys stood for and just seemed like genuine guys. So I was just interested in getting to know them, interested in podcast world. And now this third thing is just interested in entrepreneurship and brands and building a business and scaling a business. And so that's kind of where it starts. It's just mostly with interests, things that I'm interested in. But then I think the other level to it is just, I always have been goal oriented and like to work towards something. So growing up, usually that's sports. Honestly, it wasn't really with school. Couldn't really care less about school if I'm being honest. But hey, I'm doing all right. Yeah. But so it's just, I just like the idea of working towards something. And usually in sales, you can get that. And it's very easy to see that and measure it. And know when you're accomplishing your goals and know when you're winning, basically. And so that's kind of where it goes with, I guess, business development is just, kind of, scratching the itch of interest, but also having something that you can day in and day out kind of be able to judge yourself. Did I win that day? Did I win the month? Did I, the goal ultimately is like landing deals, right? Yeah. And so just being able to have something that I can work towards. And it's just like, it also with just like networking too. Interest, I just am very curious and love figuring out how things work. And so honestly, like, discovery meetings or whatever you want, if you're a salesperson, you probably know what that is, but discovery meetings are kind of like fun for me because it's almost like you're figuring out how a business works and where you can add value to it and who the person is. And so, yeah, I think it just kind of fits in a lot of my interests is kind of where it started. So That's kind of a long-winded answer to your question. But
Yeah. Did you go to school for business development, or what did you go to school for?
No. So I went to school for sports management.
Okay.
At St. Cloud State, and so that was kind of just like something that I just knew what I was gonna do, right? Like, I'm a sports guy in high school. What do you want to do? I'm gonna do sports management. That was fun, and again, school was kind of like, for me at least, it was good to learn stuff. I like learning, and so I enjoyed that piece of school, but just some of the grade stuff, whatever. But yeah, so I didn't really go to school for business, like a business degree, or sports management is kind of like a business degree. It's the business side of sports. So in a way, kind of, with like a little twist. But no, it's a lot of it too, is just you kind of learn as you go. So
yeah. How did you start working for the Timberwolves? Was that like internship type of relationship that you built with them, or did you just see like a job opening after you graduated?
Yeah. So when I started, or how I got the job, was really just a lot of mutual connections and kind of some work that I did earlier on that paid off. And so basically what I mean by that is, when I was about to graduate, I sent out hundreds of resumes and job applications all over the place. Like, I was literally sending stuff out to like sports clubs in like Spain and in Africa and in Europe, like all over the place. Yeah. I was gonna go wherever, like California, Florida, anywhere. So I had a couple of job interviews. It was good. They went well, but the one place that I didn't actually send out a resume to, I just ended up getting a job with, which was the Timberwolves. And how that worked out was, kind of started all the way back when I was, what was I? I was like a sophomore in college. So the one thing I will say about college is grading system and all that kind of stuff, not a fan, but the opportunities that it gave me, huge fan of all that. So in college, I had the opportunity to do some volunteer work at the NCHC tournament, which is a big hockey tournament for college hockey. And so honestly, like, I like hockey, it's kind of whatever. So I volunteered at the tournament, knew that it was at the Target Center, and was kind of hoping, maybe just to use it as a networking opportunity. And so I volunteered at that tournament 2 years in a row. It just so happened that there was Timberwolves employees that also were working that tournament. And so I kind of was able to start building relationships within the organization through that first volunteer opportunity. And so that kind of led to me following up with those people, which led to a game day shadow to figure out if I wanted to work in in-game entertainment, which was what I thought I wanted to do, which was like, basically you go to a game, it's like the lights, camera, action, like the coordinating everything from when smoke goes off, when certain songs are played. It's kind of just like you're almost like creating the vibe of the party, basically, which was what I thought I wanted to do. Still, I think it's cool. But going back to the goal-oriented thing, where I'm always trying to work every single day towards like a goal. I kind of did a self-assessment and realized sales was a little bit more of what I wanted to do. So then, basically, kind of worked through my connections. Hey, do you guys know anybody? Yada yada yada. It kind of like left it at there for a little bit, and then a couple of my other connections from just going to school actually were able just to connect me with another person that worked for the Wolves. Did an informational interview with him, and then you leaned on another one of my old football teammates to connect me with his boss, because he worked at the Wolves, and then that turned into an informational interview, which basically turned into like a real interview. I kind of realized that like after I was there, I was like, okay, now he's asking me the questions, so this is kind of turning into a normal interview now. And so that went well, and basically at the end of that informational interview turned interview, I got a job offer. And yeah, so it's basically just like a lot of connections and a lot of leaning on personal relationships. And yeah, the one place that I didn't send out a resume to was the one that I actually got a job with. And here I was trying to go to all these other parts of the world. Yeah. And I just stay right here in Minnesota.
That's so weird how that works out. Did they really get you on that in-game experience?
Well, I went there, and it was just kind of what I like. Basically, I went and I knew exactly what it was. Like, I was like, all right, this is what it is. Like, this is probably what it's going to be. There's room for innovation, obviously, but it just didn't. I guess it just didn't kind of fit with, what I wanted to do and what my goals were. Yeah. So. Yeah, I don't know.
that was kind of a joke because don't the Timberwolves have the worst? Was it worst winning average out of any sports team?
I'm not sure, but I do know that we have one of the best in-game production crews in the entire sports. Okay. And so in-game, what I was kind of looking more so to do was the lights, camera, action, the whole experience of a fan coming to the game. Okay. And I know that they've won some awards for how good they've been at that. Yeah. And so.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah. It's a fun experience, fun game day experience. So anybody watching, if you guys want to come to a Timberwolves game, you can hit me up. I can get you a good deal on some tickets. Just had to shameless plug for myself out there.
Use affiliate code Jeremy at checkout.
Yeah.
But dude, that's so true. Being able to build different the relationships that you continue to invest in and build what that can do for you later on in the future. Because you started reaching out to just people you knew. Yeah. To try to transition from kind of being on this in-game experience route to I want to do sales because my internal drive is very goal orientated to how sales can be laid out. If you get how does that work for the Timberwolves for sales? Are you just tracked based off of how many tickets are sold?
Yeah, I mean, it's similar to any other sales role where you have a goal that you're supposed to hit. Obviously this year was a little bit crazy with the pandemic, and we can get into that a little bit, but
bunch of Zoom tickets.
Yeah, find a way, right? But yeah, so basically you just get a goal. I mean, quarterly goal, and then an end of the season goal for the year where you're looking to drive as much revenue. So my specific role is group events. And so I focus on really a group is it's tickets 10 or more. So basic tickets to a game where you buy in bulk 10 or more tickets. And so that I focus with churches. There's a lot of church groups that will come out to games, youth groups, kids groups, just family groups in general. And then a lot of businesses will do, you've got your client appreciation, your staff appreciation, which is a big one right now. A lot of stats out there that people are leaving their jobs, right? And so what does a business look to do? Is they look to, you can increase pay, or you can also provide, fun opportunity, fun experiences for your staff. And so a lot of just things like that, where it's, working with organizations and working with even friends and family groups, every now and then I'll get a friend planning a bachelor party or something like that. And so with groups, revenue is a big one, but also number of group tickets sold is kind of how we're judged. And so basically I'm just trying to sell as many group tickets and as many groups as possible and make as much money as possible. So it's kind of just, what sales at the Timberwolves is in a nutshell. And, at the end of the day, obviously, working, making sure that, it really is a partnership in a sense where, a lot of the groups and current clients that I work with, especially on the business side of things, a lot of times they're using it as a tool, right? So they're not just using it as we're just going to go and watch the Timberwolves game and have a good time, drink some beers, kick it. That's probably what I would do when I'm going to a game. But as a business tool, you're utilizing it to try to, make an impression on a client. And so that's a big part of what I have to do on the back end is to, kind of work with them in a way to make sure that we're making a good impression. We're making sure that, that whoever they're having out to the game is taken care of. And so basically there's the revenue goal, there's the tickets goal, but then there's also just the client's goal, and try to make sure that that's hit too.
Yeah. What does your sales process look like for selling like group ticket sales? Like what would be an average cost of like a group ticket sales that you'd have to do?
Yeah. So that's a good question. It's a common question. People are always asking, how much does this cost, right? Mm-hmm. How much does, courtside tickets cost? How much does this cost? Just kind of like how you said, how much does group tickets cost? I always kind of turn it back. It's a hard question to answer because I always kind of equate it to maybe like walking into a car dealership and just walking up to the front desk and saying like, how much does a car cost, right? The person at the desk is like, well, what kind of car do you want? Right? Like, do you want the beater or do you want like this Ferrari? And so basically, I mean, it really depends, right? Okay. So like, it really depends on what kind of experience they're looking for. So if it's like a company that's looking to do an all-inclusive suite, it's going to cost a little bit more than, somebody that's just looking to get tickets in the upper deck. Mm-hmm. So it really varies. I mean, it's a hard thing to answer, and especially right now when, we don't have any prices really for groups.
for like selling people tickets, are they reaching out to you? Are you reaching out to them?
Oh yeah. So in a perfect world, right? A perfect world, everybody's reaching out to us. That's tickets. That would be the dream, right? Yeah. But at the end of the day, you gotta have outreach to the prospects, and so. I think you had asked about the process. A lot of it is just reaching out, helping to educate the marketplace on what's even available, because a lot of people don't even know where they could save money. They just buy tickets whenever they can online, and they're spending like money and fees and all sorts of stuff, and they just don't know. So a big part of it is just educating the marketplace, and then meetings, connecting with people, office meetings, having people out to games, letting them, test drive some seats, get the experience. Obviously, we're not just sending out like. There's a fine line between getting people in to test drive some seats and people just wanting to get free tickets off of us. Yeah. So you gotta kind of make sure that you're not. You basically just want to kind of qualify people first. But a big part of it is just getting face to face, making sure people are aware of what we have going on, and turn that alarm off. But it's basically what it is. Just reaching out to people, educating them, getting face to face, and then solving for whatever problems that they have.
Okay. When you're trying to get face to face with people, like. Because I'm curious on like, so people are obviously, you're reaching out to people and people are reaching out to you. Is this all done through like email? Are you hopping on the phone with people to get them to buy tickets?
Yeah, so I try to take a creative approach to it where I'm trying out almost everything, right? Mm. So... and I take it from an approach as like people are busy, like I'm busy. People try to reach out to me, and I don't always get back to people right away. And there's also different ways that you can reach me, right? Like I guess I don't want to necessarily tell everybody how to reach me the best, but I mean, I might get back to you if maybe if you like shoot me an Instagram DM, that's gonna pop up a little bit faster on my phone versus an email to my Gmail account or something like that, right? And so. It depends. Like, so basically, I utilize email. So cold emails, cold calls, cold DMs, cold LinkedIn DMs, Instagram DMs. Little trick that I found out on Facebook is sometimes that, when you're looking at a business and you want to connect with an organization or business or whatever, reaching out to their company page is sometimes good because I heard some, I don't know if it's still true, but I heard somewhere that their rating goes down if they don't respond to those. Oh. And so it was like guaranteeing basically that somebody would get back to me. So I just try to get creative with my approach. I mean, I've tried, sending videos of me talking, like just, intro videos of myself to people.
That's cool. Yeah. So do they give you a good amount of freedom in your ability to just like get sales, group sales?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Which is another thing that I really love about the job too, is this, it really is kind of like we're managing our own book of business in a sense where, you know, I'm given some, you know, leads to be able to reach out to. But then a lot of it is just going to events, going to networking events, going to like different church related events and stuff like that. And just educating the marketplace about what we do, making connections and always asking for the sale or the meeting or something like that, where it's like, hey, like I do this. If you guys want to come out, let's make it happen. Type of a deal.
Dang, so you probably go to a good amount of events then.
Oh yeah.
Just in the area. Yep.
Before COVID happened, I was going to a ton, and it's just stuff that I'm interested in too, like events for work, or a lot of times it's just things that I'm going to real estate events, going to potential prospecting events for Timberwolves stuff, and really just at the end of the day, looking to create relationships first, and then solve for problems after that, and then just let people know what we're doing. So yeah, that's kind of what we do for prospecting.
Yeah. What's been your most successful like channel to get people to buy tickets?
It's a good question. Honestly, it changes a lot. I mean, I think at the end of the day, like emailing and just calling people is probably the best way to do it. There's some sense to it just being a numbers game. And so, you know, the more people you can get through, or the more people you can reach out to, you know, that's just going to help your close rate. But yeah, I'd say probably just the basics, honestly, just in terms of sales, probably just emails and cold calls, you know, kind of just what they teach you in sales school.
Yeah. Did you do any training for sales?
I mean, we get trained in, you know, like right when we first start working with the Wolves, we go through, so like I went through an inside sales class. That was basically my first position with the Wolves. So inside sales is kind of where you're just thrown into it. You're going through a lot of sales training on the first couple weeks. And then throughout the year, you're kind of learning as you go. So, and even still, I mean, basically, we just had a training today. So it's all, I feel like in sales, you're always kind of trying to fine tune what you're doing. So yeah.
Could you teach me something? Like if you were to do like a quick,
let's see,
little sales training right now.
Sales is, I think sometimes people think it's complicated, but for me, I think it's just asking good questions. It's basically what sales is. It's just asking open-ended questions that make sense from whatever business is that you're trying to sell. And then you're just looking to solve to those. You're basically just looking to solve problems. And how can your solution solve their problem? And you're only going to figure that out if you ask good questions. Mm-hmm. And so, it'd have to be a specific situation, I guess. But that's the biggest advice that I can give you right now is just ask good, on-point questions that make sense and relate it back to how you can solve for it. And yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Solve their problems through asking good questions.
Yeah, open-ended questions.
Yeah.
You kind of want to stay away from just like yes, no questions. So like, you could say like, so if I'm selling like a season ticket package to just like a random person, not necessarily like a business, but just like a consumer or something, or even it's like to you right now, like for me to kind of gauge what you would be looking at, I could say, did you go to a Timberwolves game last year? And then you could say yes or no. And if you say yes, that kind of helps me a little bit, but it doesn't necessarily get me to helping you to like see value in, or start to see value in a full season ticket package. But I could say, and this is just like super basic, like front end question, but so instead of saying, did you, I would want to say, how many games did you go to last year? And then that just starts getting you talking like, oh, I went to 10 games. I went to 7 games. And then I could say,
oh, that's weak.
I could say,
rookie numbers.
Did you like your experience at those games?
Yeah.
Was it fun? Did you like it? And then you would say yes or no. Or I could say, how was your experience at those games. And then that gets them to open up more. And then basically you're just looking to try to get people to open up more. And then, like, say, for example, if they said, oh yeah, the experience was great, had a lot of fun, but gosh, you guys charge so much for those fees, then that's a problem. Like, that's, oh yeah, problem that I could solve through some of our different ticketing options, like with a package or group option or something like that. So basically it's just trying to get people to talk and making sure that you're not necessarily just like drilling them with questions per se. So like you don't really want to get into a conversation or like a call where you're just like, how's your experience? And they say, oh, it was good. Like and then say, okay, who did you go with? Okay, like
helicopter.
Yeah, just basically parents. Just like just keep driving questions where it sounds like you're interrogating them. Don't do that. But good questions that are open-ended, just to get people to talking and to help you understand, really. I mean, at the end of the day, you're also looking to try to understand how you can add value, and you're never going to understand that, but just first pitching. Some people will just pitch right away, like, this is what I have, this is why you should buy from me, buy, right? You don't even know how to convince somebody if you don't know their experience, right? I could waste my time going into a whole pitch to have somebody to buy tickets, and at the end of it, they'll just say, hey, sorry, buddy, I actually just moved to California. So I just wasted 10 minutes of just wasting my time and hit that person's time, and nobody wants to feel like they're wasting their time. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, sales is like one of the best skills you can learn just in life, like that communication aspect with like, a lot of it, like you just said, is just asking the right questions and like good quality questions to people and getting them to open up so you're able to address like any pain points that you have.
Keeps going off. Yeah, no, you're spot on. You're spot on. I think I just forgot to, let's see. I just forgot to turn it off from earlier. Okay, it should be off now.
Well, no, that's a good transition. So you're doing a lot with the Minnesota Timberwolves, and then did you kind of, just through you yourself going to different events, did you then meet Declan and Andrew of the Backpocket podcast?
Yeah, so for them, actually, I just slid in their DMs the good old fashioned way.
Nice.
Yeah, no, I mean, I just was listening to their podcasts. It kind of just went to my, like, you know, scratch the itch of just interests, right? Stuff happening in Minneapolis. They interviewed a lot of people in Minneapolis, and honestly, I just like their perspective on just life and success. And, you know, I think at the time they were doing like crazy amount of podcasts, and I loved how they like talked about like the grind and how they're just, you know, this is our goal. We're going to keep going day by day, brick by brick type of mentality. And so I just resonated with that. And then honestly just reached out to them. I think they had posted saying that they needed help with something. They had like a list of things that they needed help with. And I just reached out. I was like, hey, like, be happy to like get together and meet and see what I could do. And I think they were like, it was like a lot of stuff around content, and I was basically just like, I could try to learn. I'm not really the best at that, but you guys, and again, it just kind of came to like listening a little bit, but I was like, you guys, I think you mentioned maybe something about like sponsors and stuff like that. I can help you guys try to get sponsors. And they're just like, yeah, sure. And so basically from there, just kind of went into, me just trying to get sponsors for the podcast and just reaching out to local businesses and trying to get them money.
Yeah. Money sponsors for the podcast.
Yes. Trying to help them monetize their podcast basically was my role. And so that was just a lot of, again, you know, the cold outreach, trying to help people solve their problems of, you know, raising awareness in the Twin Cities area. You know, we have a specific demographic, and podcasts are really good ways to build that community. I think you were talking about it a little bit, but you know, if you have a product that fits within a certain community, that, you know, getting it on a podcast is a really good way for stickiness, right? Because a lot of times listeners with podcasts, they really trust the host, and they really trust, there's just a built up sense of trust. And so, you know, when you're hearing products that are advertised to you from the host and through the podcast, it's a really good conversion rate, at least stickiness wise. So that's, basically that's just kind of, the direction that I went with it. And, just started that whole thing. And the biggest thing that I think I'd say my biggest role is really Bochella. So it's a podcast, but we've transitioned into a podcast production company now. And so there's a couple other podcasts that we help produce. And then we always throw this huge event called Bochella where, again, I'm selling sponsors for it, right? So tables on the boat, stuff, basically we have a lot of different sponsorship packages and stuff like that, but just trying to help them make a little bit of money,
Yeah. When you're trying to sell sponsorships for the podcast, what are you offering them, and like what are they looking for?
Yeah. So specifically, it all kind of boils down to just awareness, right? So just really making sure that whatever business, product, brand that we're trying to, bring on board, introducing them to our listener base is really the biggest value add, because, our listener base is here in Minneapolis. We're people that, young adults, usually fresh out of college, and hustlers, right? Movers and shakers of Minneapolis. And so that's, you just want to be associated with that type of a crowd, right? And so that's kind of a little bit of the message, just association with our listener base and making sure that your product is introduced to our listeners. And so that's basically the value add there. But again, it kind of comes down to like their specific, like anything specific that they're looking to accomplish. A lot of the times it comes to awareness. Sales too is, obviously every business wants to make sales, but to make sales, you need people to know about who you are. Right? Yeah. So we're trying to help out with that.
Nice. Has that been easy to do, to like get podcast sponsors? Because like I do the podcast through Anchor, and you can include sponsorships that Anchor provides in your podcast. Like they offer an Anchor sponsorship, Squarespace, different companies will kind of offer it up to anyone on that platform. And that's very easy to do, to get paid for your podcast. So like, has it been easy for you to reach out to these companies and introduce like this local podcast and just ask them if they would want to be a sponsor of it?
No, it's not easy.
Okay.
Yeah, it's definitely not easy. It's a lot of reps, basically, just a lot of repetition, trying to get, a lot of reps, a lot of conversations with people, trying to really help explain the value add and how it'll help with the problem that they're trying to accomplish. So yeah, I wouldn't say it's easy. It's definitely not. And there's a lot of things, especially when you're advertising to maybe some like local businesses. They don't necessarily have a huge budget for that kind of a thing. And so just trying to find the right types of prospects, right types of brands to partner with, is sometimes a little bit of a challenge. But yeah, it could be a challenge, but that's kind of a little bit why it's, that's what kind of makes it a little bit more fun, I guess, in a way, or makes it something where you can keep kind of coming back to and trying to figure out what's going to work. And so that's kind of what keeps me going at it. Still working at it right now. The biggest thing coming up is Bochella. So looking for sponsorships for that. So if you're out there and you want to get your brand in front of a 350 college kid, or call it just fresh out of college kids, hit me up. Hit me up. We can talk.
Hit up Jeremy. Let's go. Have you had anyone sponsor the podcast yet?
Yeah.
What would that kind of like range in price wise for, like, what would a brand be willing to pay for a podcast promo?
It really depends. It really depends, especially right now too, since we've kind of transitioned away from just being a specific like one single podcast. We're almost transitioning a little bit more we are transitioning into something where we're just managing different podcasts. And so we're still trying to figure out exactly what that looks like, in terms of, what like a, pre-roll ad read is going to cost and what mid-roll and like all that kind of stuff. But for Bochella, since we're speaking on it, I think we have the title sponsor taken care of. But if you wanted to get a spot on the boat, just as a table sponsor, you basically just have an opportunity to interact with people on the boat. It's going to be like the first live event that anybody's going to be able to be a part of right now. That's $1,000 to have a spot on the booth or on the boat, basically your own booth, just to do whatever you want at. It's kind of the, if you've ever gone to any of those types of things, people can have crazy things to try to get people to their booth to basically do lead gen or whatever they're looking to get out of the event. So yeah, that's kind of what that costs on our end. Just one example with Bochella.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, man. How have you tried anything like that with? Because you were talking a little bit about the
for sponsorships. Yeah. I debated doing it through Anchor. Like one time, like you can include one of their sponsorships in it, but for including a sponsorship and then also kind of what their offering was for it, I didn't see a ton of value in it.
Yeah.
Because like it's still what I do is still like I would consider a small podcast.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's nothing where I'm getting like tons and tons of listeners to the point where it's like, oh, I could offer a brand something pretty reasonable or better than what they could get from advertising on like a social platform or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, like you made a good point just on ads and how if a host communicates an ad to a listener, like you have better trust built with that person. So like if Joe Rogan does an ad for Buffalo Wild Wings, like you'll remember and you'll be like, oh, yeah, like I might go check it out. I might go check it out sometime.
Yeah. I think it's just all about like personalization, right? Yeah. Like just basically being able to like, I think that, I mean, with Joe Rogan, I mean, I've heard him say it. I like the way Joe Rogan delivers his ads. Actually, he talks about like he adds like in like a little personal element to it and why he believes it. And it's like, all right, this is I trust Joe Rogan, so I'm going to trust this company because he supports it, right? Yeah. And I'm guilty of it. I've bought lots of stuff just from hearing podcast ad reads of people that I trust recommending a product, and then I buy it.
Oh dang, you buy from podcast ads?
Yeah, I've bought like what I think bought a book before. I can't remember which one. Some business related, success habit related book. I bought Joe Rogan's the brain stuff.
From Alpha Brain?
On it?
On it.
Yeah. I was like, you know what? I don't really mess around with this stuff, but I trust Joe Rogan, so I'm gonna try this stuff out and see if it makes a difference. And
did it work?
Yeah, it's honestly I kind of like it.
Let's go.
It's a little bit, I kind of like it. I like it. I think it works. I'm a fan. I'll probably get some more. So.
Yeah. Did you notice any difference?
Yeah. Just more of like it's more of a focus. Just definitely more of a focus on just getting stuff done, but it's not like an overstimulated focus where, sometimes, so when I was a kid, I was prescribed Adderall. And so, I've had that before, and that's almost sometimes more of like I take it and it's like too much focus. It's like too much like going on, and I don't really feel like myself, but this is almost like a calm focus.
Nice.
So I feel like I'm doing an ad for On It right now, but I like it.
You're not taking Adderall anymore?
No.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on it? Because there's some pretty strong comparisons to like when it's prescribed to children, it's just a children with like a lot of energy, and giving that type of like medication to like children is kind of it's
Yeah, honestly, I haven't. I know it's like there's some controversy there, but it hasn't been something that I've spent a lot of time looking at like both sides of it. So I honestly don't have like a I don't have an opinion one way or the other on it, but I know it. Yeah. I'd be interested in learning more about it, honestly.
Yeah.
Like I know that there's something there though, for sure. And yeah, pharmaceutical companies.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I remember, I don't know if you had people in your high school that did this, but when we took like the ACT, like there'd be people that never took Adderall before in their life.
Yeah.
And they'd take it for the ACT, and then they'd be like super
tweaking.
focused, like tweaking and stuff. And I mean,
Yeah.
I never did that, but there's some people I knew that did that.
Oh yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Yep. Drugs.
Yeah. Yeah.
They'll do that.
Yeah. Are you into being in like the sports management background? Are you into like supplements and?
No, not really, honestly.
Okay.
So yeah, when I was growing up, I've always just kind of had for whatever reason, I've always been kind of just anti anything that like I'm going to put in my, like, I'm just more so natural. Like I just like things that are natural. So like for the longest time, I didn't even want to do any protein shakes or anything like that. But then I found out whey protein is all right. So, you know, I've been taking that. But yeah, never really got into any like heavy into any like pre-workouts or anything like that where I'm taking it on a consistent basis. So for me, I'm just a little bit more old school, more natural, just like fruits, vegetables, get your protein through meat, fish, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, no, other than I guess I'm trying this supplement right now because Joe Rogan recommended it. So
nice.
I was really hesitant, but so this just, I guess, goes to show the power of advertising on podcasts, because that's 100% of the reason. I was just like, all right, Joe Rogan, he seems to be an expert on this stuff, and I'm going to trust his judgment on this thing. And yeah, it's been working out so far. So I don't take it every day, but when I need a little bit of extra focus, it does the job.
Yeah. Nice. What kind of podcasts are you listening to right now?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I really like this one podcast I think it's called My First Million. Basically it's just two guys, entrepreneurs. I think one of the guys runs like some sort of like a rolling fund or something like that where he invests in startups now. But just tons of ideas on that podcast. Tons. Like they come every single pod with just like a list of ideas that they're going to talk through, and they just like let it fly.
Is it like startup ideas? Startup ideas for a company?
It's like startup ideas, any kind of like anything that they see that like is cool and they think that like could have like a different twist, or any like, I'm trying to think of some right now, but basically it's basically just like anything that they think could be better, and then they just talk through why they think it could be better, and or they'll just explain things that are doing really, really well, and then like the concept and like the thought process and why they think it's doing well. And so it's just something that is super interesting to me. Yeah.
Would you consider it kind of like Shark Tank almost?
Kind of like Shark Tank, only
okay.
Yeah, it's not necessarily where they're not like talking to people that are like pitching them on stuff or anything like that. It's more so like they just see things that are happening in the world, like in Silicon Valley or like any of that kind of stuff, and then they just talk about it and they talk about why it works. And one of the guys, I think his name's Sean. I don't even know his name, but I think it's Sean. He just has like a knack for just explaining things really like crisp and clean and condensed, where it's just really easy to understand. And so I'm just a big fan of complex ideas being explained really easily. And so that's why I gravitate towards it.
Yeah. Nice. Would you ever want to start a company in the future?
Oh yeah, definitely. Okay. Definitely. I don't know what it's going to be yet, but it's always something. I mean, basically I just want to I like building things. And so yeah, building a company would be awesome. I don't know what it's going to do, but I want it to be something that's like innovative, something that's new, something that helps make the world a better place because it exists. And, still trying to figure out what that is, but it's part of the journey.
Nice. what would, I suppose that question would kind of be in similar line to if you'd want to start a company. But is there anything you would like to be doing 5 years from now specifically?
I think I just want to do whatever I want to do.
That's good.
So that, I don't know if that answers your question, but
that's a good
basically
answer.
I want to do whatever I want to do when I want to do it. And I want the freedom to have that choice. So basically I want to have freedom of choice, and I don't want money to be a restriction. I don't want, where I live to be a restriction. I just want to be able to do what I want to do. So I don't, I don't necessarily have like a 5-year like goal necessarily. I've kind of like tried that stuff out, and I've just found that like my life just changes too much, and like things change so drastically, and even my interests will sometimes change, that I found that like I feel very passionately about something one year, but then the very next year my ambition and my goals, and even just like what I know is possible, will change. And so that goal seems like kind of small potatoes compared to like, oh, now this is possible. So why did I set this 5-year goal when so I don't know. It's just, I kind of just want to be able to do whatever I want to do. So
Yeah, no, that's true. Like, I mean, it's great to create like long-term goals, especially if they're things that in the moment you're like, I would love to have this in the future. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, when you get to that point and as you grow as a human, like you'll just change and interests will be different. So just being able to be like adaptable and being able to not be negative on yourself if things change that way. That helps.
Yeah, I'd say I guess like a 5-year goal would probably be, I want to be in a position where I can help. I mean, you asked about, do I want to start my business? I mean, the reason I would want to start a business is, a little selfishly, I just like building things and it would be like fun for me to do. But another piece would be just, I feel like that's really one of the only ways that I can make change, in the world. I want to be able to like shape the world how I want it to operate, if that makes sense, or correct things that I think are wrong that could be done differently, create opportunity for people that I think, aren't given a fair shot because of systems, or they're born on the wrong side of town or the wrong side of the world. And so if 5 years from now, I want to be able to be in a position to influence those types of things where I can, shape the world how I want to see it.
Yeah.
So
if you were to name like one thing that you'd want to change about the world right now, what would it be?
Well, I think a huge problem is financial literacy and people understanding how to get ahead in life. And so I think I haven't quite figured out exactly what it is yet, but there's something there where there's people that, like, generation after generation, they're stuck in a loop, it feels like, where they're just scraping to get by. Their parents were scraping to get by. Now it's their turn. They're barely getting by. And a lot of times it's African American communities and communities of color. And I think a big part of it is just figuring out a way to break that cycle. And I think, for me, it's a huge part of it is financial. There's political stuff that people always will push and stuff like that. I feel like that's stuff that I can't control, really. What I can control is try to make a lot of money and help other people make a lot of money. It's kind of the way I look at it. Yeah. And so I had an idea of like some sort of a system where as soon as somebody's born, they're instantly like, imagine like this huge company or this huge, I don't even know what it is, maybe a nonprofit or maybe just me as an individual. Basically, as soon as somebody's born in a certain community, that person gets like, I don't know, $1,000 or $10,000 spread into a bunch of different like basically just creating an investment portfolio for somebody as soon as they're born. And then as they grow, when they're 18, maybe they get access to those funds and they can go to college. If they don't want to go to college, they can start their own business. It earns compound interest along the way. So just basically just like, I don't know, something like that where basically somebody can just get a fair shot and chase their dreams. Like, I think a lot of times people, they look at their situation, they think, oh, why would I try if I can't get out? So I just want to give people the opportunity to get out through their own choices. And so,
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Like even what we're seeing kind of now with, I mean, obviously Robinhood kind of restricted some trading on like a stock that shot up just based off of like a community of people that are trying to drive this. But you're seeing more like crypto, Robinhood, these different platforms that are trying to decentralize and like make financial literacy like available to everyone. And all you would need is like a phone.
Yeah.
And that big part of like what you were saying is like the literacy part and like understanding, because it's confusing, like to know what to invest your money in and like how to grow your money. And I mean, that's also why there's not everyone like has a bunch of money. So it's obviously like pretty difficult. But I remember seeing like a graph a while ago. If you were to invest like $200 from the point you were born to, I think, when you're 18, like it was a good into the S&P 500.
Yep.
I mean, you'd have a good amount of money by that time to fund college, business idea. So that nonprofit of investing, like when people are born, I mean, that'd be interesting.
Yeah, I haven't thought through all the different ways that it would work, or like the problems because there's problems with every idea. I haven't actually like dove into the problems, but just as like from an like an idealistic standpoint, like how sick would that be? Like how awesome would that be? Cool. A world where maybe even the government does that, right? Yeah. But that's the whole political thing where it's like, oh, that I can't control any of that stuff. So what can I control? Let me try to build some nonprofit or an entity that maybe it's a business that pledges for every X amount of sales, they pledge to donate $1,000 to somebody born in a disadvantaged community or something like that. Like, I don't know, just things like that. Because compound interest, S&P 5, like there's so many different. Like that's the name of the game. That's what all the rich people are doing. That's what all the rich white people are doing. Like let's just copy. We can copy the blueprint, right? Like the blueprint's there. It's just education and consistency and discipline. I think, and so being able to teach people that, just educate them on what to do and educate them on how to do it. And at the end of the day, if people know what to do and they know how to do it, I think that, there's obviously other barriers that people have to go over, but that's like the building blocks, I think, of success. And so if people can have those building blocks, then that's a world that I want to live in. If everybody has that, so
be awesome.
Yeah.
I did want to kind of talk about your story of like how you grew up a little bit, because you did grow up in Africa, and you did talk to me about it a little bit. Last week, but you were young at that time, so you don't remember a lot. But if you'd be able to kind of share that story a little bit, that'd be great.
Yeah. So I wouldn't even say that I grew up there. Honestly, I moved from the Ivory Coast when I was 2, and so basically, my dad's side of the family is from there. A ton of family on that side. I've gone back 2 times since we moved back. One just like maybe like 4, 5 years ago now, maybe. I don't know. I was there kind of recently, and then another time when I was in 6th grade, I went back over there. And so, it's just it's a big difference from what happens over there to what happens over here. There was. We can get a little bit political on it too, but like as we're going through our elections here, they're also going through elections over there, and the situation. Basically, from what I understand, and I'm no expert on this, so I could be wrong, so don't come after me if you're listening to this and you disagree with what I say. But basically, from my understanding, is the president in the Ivory Coast had his 2 terms, and during those 2 terms created a rule to say, oh, now I can get a 3rd term. I'm going to make that a thing where I can get a 3rd term now and run again, basically. So it'd be like if Trump had won and then next year decided, I'm just going to make up a new rule and install that. And so he did that, and basically it just threw the whole entire country into conflict. People actually dying over this thing, and family members not having to my dad especially, he's more close to the situation, but worrying about if family members are safe because they live in certain areas of the country. So yeah, I mean, just huge difference between what's actually like going on over there versus over here. Obviously it's, there's tension, there's political tension. The stuff with the White House was crazy, not downplaying that at all. But for the most part, I feel like a lot of times here, people just like to overreact a lot, and they get a little bit more sensitive. I think that's more so it. It's like people are a lot more sensitive over things that they're outraged on here versus in the Ivory Coast, there's like actual hardship and like actual crazy stuff that's happening. And so that's just, I guess that kind of gives me a little bit of a different perspective. And then just like seeing how people live. So like my dad, he was born in like a village in the Ivory Coast, like something that you might see on like National Geographic or something like that. Like not like, so when we went back there the last time, he was looking around and he was like, wow, like there's electricity. Like they put up like light posts and stuff. And he was like, and I think there was like a well there, and he was like, wow, there's clean water, there's electricity, like this is crazy. Nice. Like this is, and like so he said he grew up drinking water out of the river, like the river that went by the village. That's where he grew up drinking water. And so just seeing like different ways that people live is like a crazy just perspective, I guess, to have. So yeah, I don't remember too much of like growing up there or anything, but mostly just the takeaways of back my times visiting and just hearing stories.
Yeah. What's it like when you go back there?
I guess in what sense?
Do you look forward to it?
Yeah.
Are you kind of like, I have to go back there?
Oh no, I love it. It's awesome to go back. So when we go back, we go for like 3 weeks at a time. We stay there for a long time. And it's awesome. I mean, people are super friendly. I mean, it's great to see, relatives that I don't really know them, but it's still good to see them. It's tough. I don't speak French very well, hardly at all, really. I can kind of understand a little bit of what people are saying. So that makes it a little bit tough where I can't really communicate as well as I would like to with people.
Do they know any English, or is it mostly French?
People know English. Okay. Not really like in the village or anything like that, but in the city, people will know English and can kind of communicate to people. But yeah, it's really it's definitely an experience going back there. Food is phenomenal. All of it is super, super good, all natural. None of that crazy stuff.
Naturalist.
None of that crazy stuff that's
Peak
going
natural.
into. It's a lot of fun. I think everybody. Africa is like a really cool place to go. I think everybody should go. Check it out. I mean, it's a little bit of like a perspective shift when you go there. But the people there are just really good people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you were to recommend a spot in Africa to go and travel, like what would you recommend?
Yeah, I'm obviously biased. So I'd say the Ivory Coast. I'd say the Ivory Coast just because that's where I've been there, the most. I think Nigeria would be a good place for people to go to. But the Ivory Coast. You got to go to Ivory Coast. Go to Abidjan, which is like the main city. Yeah, you'll have a good time.
Sweet. You're also into crypto a little bit. I know it's getting a little up to our time. Have you heard about like Cardano? Are you in Cardano for like a crypto?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Have you looked into their expansion into Africa?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I love everything that what's his name? Charles Hodgkinson or whatever his name is. I love it all. I think it's a huge issue. The unbanked. I mean, people need identities. Right? That's a big thing. Like when people are born in the Ivory Coast, like in the village, it's not like they're getting a birth certificate. Like the government doesn't know that they exist.
Yeah,
like when my dad came to the Ivory Coast, when my dad came here, he was given a birthday. Like the government here was like, okay, this is your birthday.
Yeah.
So I think like the unbanked is a huge thing. Giving people identity is huge. Everything that the crypto movement is doing in terms of just giving people like freedom and everything that the blockchain can do for people, I think that's definitely the future. I heard somebody say, we were too late to explore the world, like the physical world here. We're too early to explore the universe, like Mars and all that kind of stuff. But we're just in time to see blockchain take off and the new internet and new world as we know it and that side of things, and the new digital world. So I completely agree with that. I think it's an exciting time to be alive, and I'm investing in I'm in Cardano. I'm in it, and I think I really like all the things that they're doing, and we're hoping that we could see some gains off of that thing. It's looking good right now. It's up a little bit.
No, but that's awesome. To finish off the podcast, if you were to leave your last piece of advice right now to like your younger self, what would that be?
That's a good question. Last piece of advice to my younger self.
Buy Bitcoin. No.
Yeah. That's actually not bad. I would probably, that would be one of the things. I would probably just say so for me, sometimes, we talked about like the 5-year goal thing a little bit, and that's kind of one of the reasons I went away from that is because I just realized that, I don't know everything. And so I think that like telling myself it's okay that you don't know everything. It's okay. Like, even though you think you might know everything, you don't, one. And so it's okay to change your plans and change your goals, but just make sure that you're just attacking everything with 100%. So like giving full effort to everything. And then after that, just kind of letting the chips fall. Just spend more time doing, less time planning.
Sweet. Yeah. And Jeremy, how can people find you on social media if they want to buy some Timberwolves tickets?
You can, if you want to buy some Timberwolves tickets, you can hit me up at just my Instagram. It's just Jeremy Koffi, Koffi. Looks like coffee, but it's Koffi. If you wanted to email me, it's jeremy.koffi@timberwolves.com. That's where you can find me. That's basically what I'm at everything. When I was growing up, I was the one and only Jeremy Koffi on the internet. So you can just type in my first and last name. And that's how you can get a hold of me.
Nice. Sweet, Jeremy. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for tuning into the podcast with Jeremy. If you enjoyed it, please send us a DM on Instagram @LiveYourVisionPod or ever_north, or leave a review, as we love to receive your feedback on the show. If you want to stay up to date on new podcasts and collection drops from Evernorth, please check out evernorthco.com. Thanks again for listening, and hope you have an amazing day.